Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, and today we are starting a reading vlog. So the theme of this reading vlog is Booktube made me buy it, which Booktube has made me buy a lot. But technically it's more Booktube made me read it, but that doesn't have the same ring to it because one of the books was bought for me. So whoops. So there's going to be 3 books that I read in this video. So I'm not going to really tell you about them. There's one of them that I have a good synopsis for, but like the other 2 I'm not so sure about. So I'll wait until I get a little bit into them and then I'll give you the synopsis. But I'll tell you why I want to read them, / who's responsible. The first one, also this is not the order that I'm going to read them in, probably not, is going to be We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faisal. And this one is mostly because of Nerding Out Reads. It's definitely because of Nerding Out Reads. I would say it's coming up to about 2 years ago since she read that book originally, and I remember she just fell in love with this entire duology. And I went into like one of those like kind of like discount bookstores and it was there. The UK cover is really pretty, it's really shiny. I have it in my bag right now, but I'm waiting for the bus, so I'm not going to take it out. But I don't know, I guess I was a bit like a magpie. I was like, okay, I have heard good things about this, it's shiny, I want it. So I bought it, and I bought it about a year and a half ago at least. I bought it full well knowing that I was growing out of YA, and yet I still got it anyway. So that's my fault. But the time has finally come that I'm going to read it, and I hope I enjoy it. I have kind of been reinvigorated to read it because recently Becca from Back in the Books read it, and I think she gave it 4 stars and like overall had pretty positive feelings towards it. So then the other books that I want to read, the next one is The Bone Season. I remember first hearing about this from Ashley from her Frolic Through Fiction. This is one of her favorite series of all time. I'm not sure it is still, but it was for a very long time. And I remember she did Bone Along, which I obviously did not participate in, because I'm trying to remember when I found their channel, because I think I might have like subscribed to her in the middle of it. So obviously I could never participate. And you know, since then it kind of like, I was like, yeah, sounds interesting, but there was a couple of things putting me off. Number one, it's a dystopian, which I don't like. Then I think it was maybe last year, Jade read it and she gave 4 stars, which we have pretty similar taste. So that gave me a bit of hope. And then last year for my birthday, Christy got it for me. So this is the one where Booktube technically didn't make me buy it. They maybe put it on my wish list. But anyway, so, and then, which I would like to point out, Christy bought this for me before she read it. And then, I don't know, end of last year, she read the first book, absolutely loved it, gave 5 stars. And when I put it on my TBR this month, she immediately was like, Bone Season. So, also I have read The Pale Dreamer now. I read that like 2 days ago. And like, I'm not going to give her a separate rating, I'm going to just kind of include it in the Bone Season rating. But like, I kind of just didn't care. So yeah, it was really short. Like, novellas very rarely do it for me, so it's fine. And then the last one is The Collar Bound. And this one is 100% Cassidy's fault. It was her first 5 star of the year. She read it, loved it, and I was like, yes. Literally went into the shop and I just saw it and it was such an impulse. I just was like, okay, I'm getting it. So yeah. Hello. So, decided to give you a roughly 50-ish% update. I'm there. So I'm currently watching Becca's Sprints because it's Ramadan and it's also Magical Readathon, which I am reading this for one of the Magical Readathon prompts, but I can't remember what it is. Oh, is it like compared to one of your favorite books? I think it is. Yeah, I think that's the prompt. So yeah, and I'm really enjoying this so far. So now I can I give you a synopsis? I'll try and give you a synopsis. Not a lot has happened. It's mostly building up the world and the magic, but we'll get to that in a minute. So basically, in this world, we follow 2 main characters. And so we follow Isha, and she has just arrived at this place. And she has been taken in as an apprentice to learn to use this kind of magic that exists. And she has a tattoo on her face, which she shouldn't have because she is human. And only like these other creatures have them. And so a lot of people are judging her or thinking she's like not fully human, and there's a lot of judgment. And then our other character is Tatters, and he is a collar bound, and this means that basically at some point he was enslaved and is under the control of these people, but we don't really know who actually he's under control because basically the person who's supposed to be controlling him is nowhere to be found, and so he's kind of just hiding, I guess. And then one day Isha comes into the like tavern that he kind of works at, and he kind of takes an interest in her because there's something odd about her, basically, and he's kind of taken her under his wing. There's not a super strong plot so far. It is mostly getting to know these two characters, the magic and the world, and I am enjoying it. I'm having a really good time. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star. Like, I do think, I have a feeling it'll be a 4-star, so, you know, that's the 50% prediction, I guess. But it just, there's not a strong enough plot for me to like really fall in love with it, and I also don't think I like love the characters enough, but I enjoy them. A book not being character driven isn't like an immediate turn off for me, but it does mean usually that like I'm not gonna absolutely love it, but I'm intrigued about these two characters, and yeah, I do enjoy them, and I can see in like future books maybe like really growing to love them, because despite the fact it's a really short book and I am only like what 170 pages in, and I do really like them even only after 170 pages of knowing them, and I do feel like I have started to get an understanding of the character. Both of them are very much keeping secrets, but so like we don't fully know everything about their backstory yet, but that is like what is kind of keeping me turning the pages. Is, as I said, there isn't much of a plot. It is mostly about the characters, and like the plot is kind of about the characters because both of these characters kind of don't know the mystery of the other, because Isha is trying to figure out, can she trust Tatters, and Tatters is trying to figure out why this girl kind of seems familiar to him. And so like the plot is kind of the characters, the two of them trying to figure out whether they can trust each other, what their backstory is. So I mean, if you don't like the characters, you're definitely not gonna like this book, but I am really intrigued and I'm excited to see where it goes. I want to know the full backstory, which is obviously always a good thing if you want to keep reading, you know. And I am like, the intrigue is really high in this. Like, I am just like so absorbed in this. Like, I've been flying through it. As I said, I'm on sprints. I've been reading like 100 pages in like 40 minutes. Like, I've been flying through it, and yeah, and I really love the world so far. Like, it's so interesting. It's definitely one of the more unique world building that I've read, because like basically like there is an edge to the world, and there seems to be also like two different halves that you have to like cross this like nearly magical veil, and then all of the magic is like in your head, so like it's like all to do with like linking your mind to someone else's so you can fight or spy on them and all of this. And like it's really interesting and it's really fun. It's something fresh, I think. So I'm gonna continue, and I might finish it tonight, but also I'm not gonna get my hopes up. So I was about to say wrap this up. No, I'm not. I'm wrapping up my first book. So The Collar Brand, I finished it yesterday. I gave it 4 stars and I had a really good time with this. I don't really have too much more to add from what I said at the 50% mark. Well, roughly 50. But it did just kind of continue in the same vein. And like, I can definitely see the two sides of like the reviews, because like, for example, Becca from Back in the Book, like I totally agree with her. It very much feels like the start of a story. It feels like the prologue, the introduction. But at the same time, I also kind of see Cassidy's 5-star because it was so addictive. Like, I could not put it down. I was just having so much fun with this book. Like, I was just so absorbed and I couldn't stop turning the pages. So like, that is probably why I have fallen somewhere in the middle, which is I gave it a 4 stars because Becca gave it a 3, Cassidy gave it a 5. Like, there isn't really much of a plot, or like the plot that is there is the characters themselves, like getting to know them, getting to know their backstories. That is the plot, which is maybe not the most interesting, but I truly like, the world is so fascinating And I have a lot of hopes for the second book. Like, I really do. I have high hopes for the second book because I think it could be really good. Because, like, the way the book ended, like, it definitely feels like it's building for something, because, like, there could be, like, war, rebellions kind of coming. And obviously, that sounds very exciting to me. And it kind of seems like very much a story where, like, both sides aren't really right. And so our, like, main characters are the ones that are kind of, like, stuck in the middle. And I love those kind of stories. Like, I'm thinking, like the City of Brass, which this is compared to. So, like, I love that kind of story where, like, our main characters are, like, the ones in the middle and are trying to, like, find some sort of, like, compromise, basically. But yeah, anyway, so I had a really good time with this, and I gave it 4 stars. And yeah, I think the sequel comes out in May, but I probably won't read it in May because I don't think, like, the paperback probably won't come out until, like, closer to the end of the year, I would say, because I think this paperback only came out, like, at the start of this year, whereas, like, it was published in 2020. Yeah, it was published in 2022, but this edition was published in 2023. So I would say it will either be, like, the end of this year or the start of next year, but I'm still, like, excited to continue. I've started We Hunt the Flame, which is because of Nerd Nat Reads. I'm related to the line. Hello. I am about 50% into this. Yeah, roughly. We're there. And I'm having a good time. Also, I was lying on my, like this. My face is... We're gonna ignore that. I'm having a good time actually so far. Yeah, I really don't have thoughts about this. I'm like, is it because I'm trying to read it really quickly, or is it just I don't have any thoughts? Interesting. Like, I'm definitely, I was about to say I'm preferring one perspective over the other, but I'm not really actually. I like them both equally, I would say. This book, so we follow Zafira and Nisir, and those are our 2 point of views. So Zafira is a hunter, and she hunts food for her kind of village, town. Our other point of view is the prince, and he is an assassin for his father. And then basically she gets offered the chance to restore magic to their lands, and then he is ordered by his father to go after her and basically kill her. And then obviously the two of them meet up, and they kind of have, like, an uneasy alliance as they try to kind of find this, like, magical item that will restore magic. I think they met up at a good time because, like, the first bit is just, like, you know, the 2 different points of view, getting to know them, why they're going, all of that, kind of, you know, doing what the back of the book says. And then, but they come together at, I would say, maybe 25%ish, maybe closer to a third. We'll say a third. So they come together around a third of the way through, which I feel like is a good amount. Because, like, obviously you get to know the characters separately, but they do have an intriguing dynamic, and I feel like that is probably what's going to make up the majority of the rest of the book. Like, yes, we're getting introduced to more characters, and we're learning more about the world and the magic and all of this, and why it's gone, and all of this. And, like, that is the plot. We're trying to restore it. And it's a good plot. It actually has a plot compared to the Collarbound. I say that as I really like the Collarbound. And I did actually probably prefer the Collarbound to this so far, but I'm still feeling 4 star, but it'll probably be, like, a lower 4 stars. They are, like, working their way towards this goal, and they're meeting new people along the way, and kind of we're getting taught more and more about this world. And as I said, I do feel like a lot of the rest of the book will be building up the dynamic, and, like, I don't think it's spoilers to say that I'm gonna assume that there's gonna be some sort of romance between the 2 of them, because it is YA. But there isn't, like, really any sign of it yet. Like, there's kind of, like, there's a bit of banter between the 2 of them, but, like, not much. It's kind of because he's, like, very quiet, keeps to himself, and she does not trust them at all. And so, like, it's just every so often, like, she'll, like, speak her mind and it'll make him laugh. And so, like, it's just, like, little things like that. And, like, I'm enjoying it though. I'm enjoying their dynamic, and I'm excited to see how that will expand as the book goes on. But having a good time so far. Definitely not gonna be, like, a new favorite series, but at the moment I'm definitely enjoying it enough to want to, like, read the sequel, which is, like, the main thing. I think, because, like, we all know I'm, like, growing out of YA, so, like, I don't really expect YAs to be 5 stars anymore. Like, obviously there is exceptions, but in general I don't really expect that from YAs anymore. So, like, 4 stars for a YA is really good for me. So, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards with this. Also, it is so shiny. Anyway, see you later. I've finished We Hunt the Flame, but I'm not like really gonna give you an update on this because I kind of want to think about it for a bit, because I'm bouncing between a 3 and a 4, but I feel like it's a me problem that is making me want to give it a 3. So I'm gonna kind of like sit with it a while and see, kind of gather my thoughts a bit more, because like I think it's a very impressive debut novel, and like overall I think it is a really good book and a really good YA book. But I just like, I think it was a me problem because like all today I've just felt so off, and I think that's like bleeding over into my reading, that I just like I'm not focusing and connecting. And because like while I was reading it, it just like I almost felt like I was on the outside, like I wasn't like in the story. I was just like, I could like objectively be like, I can see why people like this. Why am I not liking this? I'm gonna sit with it for a little while. It is gonna be either 3 or 4 stars. I am going to read a sequel, which I think in itself is a good sign that I at least somewhat enjoyed this book, which I mean a 3 star isn't a bad rating anyway if I do give it a 3. But I feel like for me 3 stars, a lot of the times they can be like, am I gonna continue? Am I not? But I mean it helps that it is only a duology, but like I do want to know, like I do genuinely want to know where the story goes. So I will definitely get the sequel. I do think that it is a me problem. Like I'm a little nervous to kind of start the Bone season tonight, but also for the Bone season, like I read this all physically, whereas the Bone season I have the book and I have the audiobook, so maybe that might help a bit. But I'm not 100% sure, and hopefully I'm not like coming into a slump or something. I don't think I am, because like, yeah, I don't know. But today was my last day of college, kind of. Like I have 4 exams to do in May. Like all of the stuff off the walls is gone. So my small bookshelf that I have there, the little wooden one that you see in the backgrounds of the videos up here, I'm trying to think what I want to do with that, because I'm like, should I make it a TBR shelf? That's kind of what I'm leaning towards, because that's basically what it was up here. Like it was mostly a TBR shelf. Or will I like, maybe my other kind of option that I'm thinking of is making it a Schwab shelf, because I have a lot of editions of V. Schwab books. So there's just 2 options. What do you think? I was gonna start the audiobook for the Bone season, but I don't think I can listen to it, because she's doing an Irish accent, which in fairness, she is from Belfast, which is in Northern Ireland. I don't think I can listen to it. But also I really want to listen to an audiobook because I want to play The Sims. Yeah. I might give it a little bit more, see if I adapt to it, because I've only listened to like a chapter. But yeah. Oh no. been a while. I actually never updated you on We Hunt the Flame, did I? Well, I mean, I updated you, but then I never, like, gave a review. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow morning because it's getting late, but I just wanted to say that I'm 50% through the bone season. I'm actually probably over 50% because, like, a huge chunk of the end of that is the novella, which I have actually already read, so that much is the novella. Liking it so far. Like, dystopians definitely aren't my thing. Like, far dystopian, I am enjoying it. And also, I appreciate all the Irish references. They were well researched. Okay, so I'm finally here to wrap this up. Because this video, like, I was supposed to have it done, like, the first week. Like, I wanted to go up on Monday or Tuesday, and now it's Wednesday. Which I'll try and have it up for tonight. But, like, that might be ambitious, if we're being honest. But, where did I put We Hunt the Flame? Because I never actually ended up finishing talking to you about this. I ended up giving this a 3-star, but it's my highest 3-star of the year so far. So, like, it was, like, just on the edge of a 4-star. And again, I do actually think this is a me problem, not a book problem, because, like, I look back on it and I'm like, yes, that was solid. I was a bit all over the place, and it kind of, like, ended up translating into the book, and so I just, like, really did not connect to it. I did give it 3 stars. I did enjoy it, and I will continue. Again, I also do think, like, for me, YA, it is a thing that, like, it's hit or miss for me nowadays. Like, I do kind of have to read it when I was in the right mood, and I don't necessarily think I was in the right mood. Like, yeah, I just really wasn't in the mood for it, I don't think, and I kind of forced myself through it. So, again, all my fault. Obviously, I do want to read the sequel, but I would also just be really intrigued to read, like, another series, another world from this author, because obviously this is a debut, and, like, it's a really impressive debut, and I would be so intrigued to see, with, you know, time, like, what she would be able to do. So yeah, I think overall a really solid book. And if you do like YA fantasy, if you like kind of like the tropey, the romance, kind of the enemies to lovers thing, I think you'll enjoy this. And I did as well. So yeah, and thanks Nat for recommending it to me, because I probably wouldn't have read it, and I had a good time. It's like 2 minutes ago, finished The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and I'm giving this a 4 stars, but it's like one of my lower 4 stars. I don't think it's the lowest. I think the Blade itself might be my lowest 4-star of the year. It's probably like 1 or 2 spaces above it. I enjoyed it, I just didn't love it. And I never even told you the synopsis of it. Basically, we follow Paige, and she is a clairvoyant, and clairvoyance is illegal, and so she kind of works in this, like, criminal syndicate. And then one day on the train home, she gets attacked, and she ends up killing people, and she knows that she kind of has to go on the run, but then she ends up getting caught, and then things change from there. And I say this a lot, I'm not the biggest fan of dystopians. And I was thinking last night, like, I was, like, really trying to dissect my feelings on dystopians. It is a lower 4 stars, and I think a big reason for that, which we've been talking about lately on my channel in vlogs, is the characters. I feel like how it goes for me is characters, world building, plot writing. But, like, the thing is, I do want all of them to be good. My problem with this was the characters. I didn't really care. The writing was solid. I don't think there was anything special about it. But again, I think this was a Samantha Shannon's debut, so, like, it's not like there's nothing incredible about it, but I would be intrigued to see how that develops as the series goes on, as well as, like, compare that to, like, the Prior of Orange Tree. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's solid. I do think at some points of the book there's a bit too much dialogue. Like, it's, like, really back and forth and not a lot breaking it up. But that would be, like, my only major complaint with the writing. I was intrigued about the plot, but again, dystopians. And I'm gonna get into this now in a minute. I'll come back to it, because I think I like the start of dystopians, but I think it's usually the ending of dystopians which I don't like. So, like, of course I enjoyed this because it was a lot of, like, building up the world, which I love world building, and kind of, like, setting up, like, all of this, like, political maneuvering and all of that, which again I love. The world building, I was intrigued about the world building, and I know a lot of people say it's confusing, which I guess I can see, but I'm definitely someone who, like, I don't mind kind of just getting, you know, them saying keep up or get left behind. Like, I don't mind a bit of, like, confusing, a bit, like, you know, it's given to you slowly, and, like, that's definitely the case with this. I do think there was, like, maybe a little bit of info dumping at the, like, there was, like, these phrases being thrown at you, but I don't think it was, like, necessarily, like, completely, like, mind-boggling. And I think maybe the novella might help. I don't think it helps that much. It more just like gives Paige's backstory. But yeah, and yeah, I was intrigued about the world building, and like, yeah, like I can't tell you about it without spoiling it, but like when like things were being revealed, I was like, wait, what? Like, this is not the way I thought this book was gonna be. So yeah, so that was fun. And then, as I said, the main letdown of this was the characters, because like I just didn't care. Like, I didn't care about Paige. Like, she was okay. Like, I don't think she was like poorly written or anything, and it's not as though she was like, you know, just a template character. There was like way too many side characters to like actually get attached to any of them. I was like, I don't know who's supposed to be important, who's not important. Like, and so like at least Paige should have been well developed, but even she wasn't. And like, I just, then like when people are like at the like end of the book, when like things are supposed to be tense, like I don't really care, because I was like, if you die, I can't even remember your name. So yeah, so that was like the main letdown for me. But overall, I did enjoy. I gave it a 4 stars. Now we're gonna talk about dystopians. Okay, so the dystopians I'm gonna be discussing when just talking about dystopian in general, gonna be Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner. Oh, what's the one by Caitlin Brady? Cinderella is Dead. The Gracier, the Chaos Walking trilogy, and Scythe. So those are like, I think, the only ones I've read. And the thing is, I say I don't like dystopians, but I've given a lot of those books high ratings. Like, I'm not a single one of them has been 5 stars. Actually, that's not true. The second book, I think, in the Chaos Walking trilogy was a 5 star for me. They have been 3 or 4 stars. Except the 2 standalones, which I think I'm gonna get, which I think shows you something for me. Because, as I said, I think endings for dystopians are often disappointing for me, because I mean, I wasn't on Goodreads or anything when I read Hunger Games, but I would say like it's probably like a 4, a 3, and a 3, or a 4, a 4, and a 3, either way. Divergent, I DNF'd the second one of the only books I've ever DNF'd, but I would say the first one was either a 3 or 4. Again, wasn't reading books at that time. Maze Runner, I think the first 3, was it like 4, 4, no, 4, 3, 3, and I think like the 2 prequels were like 2 stars. Scythe was 4, 3, 3. Chaos Walking, I think, was 4, 5, 4. And then The Gracier was like 1 star. I think on Goodreads it says 3 stars, but like I actually hated that book. I don't know why I gave it 3 stars. And then Cinderella's Dead, I think I gave it 2 star. So yeah, and now I've read this and it's a 4 star. So like, I don't hate dystopians. It's just, as you can see, there's a trend where I like the ending the least. And in standalone books, I really don't like standalones, I think, because, which I will be testing this later in the month, because I'll be reading Docile. I feel like in dystopian books, as I said, one of the most important things to me is world building. And so I think that's why I love first books or second books in these series, because it is setting up the world. We are getting to know it. We are getting to know why it works this way. And so I'm like really enjoying it. And like some of those books, I really like the characters in as well. And then the ending, it's never satisfying to me, because I never feel like, I'm like, I don't want things like all perfectly wrapped up in a bow, but sometimes I feel like it's either too easy, or like you don't talk at all about like what are the consequences of like this rebellion that you've done. So it's like Cinderella is Dead and The Gracier. Number 1, The Gracier is like so stupid. I hated like the plot twist in that. That is it's one of the worst books I've ever read. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love it. Absolutely not. Cinderella is Dead, again, that was a book, I really liked the start of it, but like by the end it was so rushed, because it's only like I think it's less than 400 pages, and so you were setting up this world and like this, you know, oppressive regime, and then you're trying to undo that in like 300 and something pages. Like, so then by the end I was just like, it was like, I don't believe this. Like, I don't believe that this is how it happened. And when it got to the end, I was like, okay, but what happens next? Because there's so much more to come from this. And I feel like that's my problem with a lot of dystopians, is like, we constantly get built up and about the world and getting to know these governments, and then at the end they take it down. That's it. And it's like, okay, but you're gonna have to do a whole load of work after that, and like we don't even get like a couple chapters of that. Like, that is all I'm asking of you. Anyway, so yeah, I am really intrigued to like see when I'm reading like Docile later in the month how I'll feel about that. But I was then like kind of trying to like, this was like all last night when I was trying to go to sleep, like I just kept thinking about this, but then I was like thinking, because I was like, there's lots of fantasy books that kind of like follow that rough plot, like, and like the first one that kind of springs to mind is Mistborn, because in that we are following the bad guy who has taken over the world and is like oppressing all of these people. Like there's very few people who are actually happy, and we're following this band of people who are trying to take down the government, which is kind of dystopian. But then I remember the second and third books follow the aftermath basically of them trying this. And then they like kind of nearly follows like more of a like typical fantasy plot. I'm like, so that's probably why I like it. Because even though, again, I do actually think the first book was my favorite in that series. It's the first book that is like nearly the dystopian elements. And then the second and third book is like more fantasy, like more typical fantasy. And like we're also kind of like dealing with the aftermath of that. And like I think that's what I want. Like I want to know what happens to dystopians. They are thinking the end goal is to take down this like president or mayor or, you know, whole group of people, whatever. That is the end goal. And they never think past it. I think that's what bugs me. I'm like, that's why I'm like, I am going to continue. But also I'm nervous because this is going to be 7 books. If I read 7 books just to be disappointed at the end, I will lose the plot. The best book that I read in this vlog was The Collar Bound. I'm not gonna lie, I have not stopped thinking about it. Like I really want a sequel, like right now. Right now. Because there's so much I want to know. There is so much I want to know. So yeah. And I guess thanks to Cassidy and Mel. And also kind of Emma. But yeah. I really want to read it. I really want to read it sequel like right now. I need it right now. So yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.